Well, our good friend Harris Faulkner, always working on cool projects, of course, there at Fox News, and one that we are very excited to tell you about this morning here on KCMO 95.7 FM. But before that, the timing works out perfectly because I know Harris Faulkner has a strong take, thoughts, opinions on what is going on in this town and the attacks that our kicker, Harrison Butker, has received over the last few days. Harris, good morning. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Thanks for being here.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. And it is a glorious Tuesday because we're all still here.
Yes.
So we did this topic on Outnumbered. And I have to tell you, the response was swift and certain. And my comments had to do with the just, non-genuine nature of the NFL and its leadership. I think it is ridiculous that their DEI officer or whoever this person is in terms of, what they do there. I mean, we have already diversity in the NFL. Look at the teams. I know they want more diversity in the coaching positions. That's an organizational thing. But for them to weigh in like this after Damar Hamlin, after the entire league was praying for Damar Hamlin, seems so disingenuous and so, just blindsided to me by what the world really is. I think the NFL is losing touch, and at least their leadership, not team by team. But let me tell you, not only am I a Chiefs fan and a Harrison Butker fan, I'm also a fan, obviously, and a follower of the Christian faith. I'm not a Catholic. And at the same time, I understand denominationally how important it is that we keep our values per what we have been taught and what we say we want to do to get to heaven. I'm personally world building, not here on earth to be on earth as a world builder, but to be in heaven, to meet my parents and people whom I've lost, who I love very much. I have to world build down here. That's what I see Harrison doing. He doesn't care what other people think. He's going to walk boldly and do what he has to do here to ascend. And he loves his wife. And all these comments about, his what he says about women, he said a tremendous about men and your role, Pete Mundo, and other men like my husband. He said, we do have roles, and I'm going to paraphrase him now. But the whole point of all of this is to remind us of what we should do and to lift the young people as a commencement speaker in that audience, which is our job as adults no matter where we go, to remind them that the world can be better than where we are right now. And that route has to go through faith and prayer. I've been saying it with Faith Still Moves Mountains for a year now. People say, well, how did it stay number one on the New York Times bestseller? I said content. Because people know what the right thing to do is. But sometimes the Lord chooses people who are in places where you wouldn't normally hear it. I think the NFL is fake when they say that this doesn't meet their policies or principles, however that DEI officer chose to put it legally. It meets the values of a lot of people in the NFL who are playing football. All that kneeling that was going on wasn't like Kaepernick style. It was prayer style for Damar Hamlin and others. Since then, it seems like we're seeing a little bit more. What are they saying about the other players on the field? That they don't fit the bill either in terms of their policy at the NFL? Sounds to me like maybe Tom Brady ought to start a new league.
I like that idea. Harris Faulkner on KCMO Talk Radio. Well, speaking of new things here, Harris, I know you've got, with Memorial Day coming up, you've got a special that is out on Fox Nation. You traveled to Vietnam to trace the footsteps of your father, who, for people that don't know, served as an Army aviator during the Vietnam War. I'm looking forward to watching that content this weekend. But for those who are looking for something, especially with Memorial Day here, to watch, to embrace this weekend, what was that experience like for you, and what are people going to learn from watching this documentary on Fox Nation?
Well, the experience for me was the most personal I've ever been on camera. I did not realize how much, first of all, I missed both my parents. My mom was an officer's wife. My dad, retired lieutenant colonel before he passed away at Christmas, on Christmas Day 2020, peacefully. But, I think I thought I knew who I am in terms of the legacy of leadership and patriotism. And I know what's in my heart and how I walk that out with my own kids and my actions and my job. I love where I work, Fox News. And at the same time, apparently I didn't know much. I was just skimming the top, because until I saw where my father served and risked his life over and over, as so many of our warriors did, at a time when I was a baby, until I saw where we spent so much blood and treasure as a nation to try to keep South Vietnam from going communist. The country was divided there. We were trying to help the South Vietnamese and perhaps the entire country to break the grip of communism that was coming south from China and other places too, but mainly there. I mean, the leadership in North Vietnam were very cozy with Fidel Castro. So there was a lot historically that was going on that my eyes were really open to. I read a lot. I love history, but it's different when you're there. It's also really mind-blowing to know how hard we tried, and that now the entire nation is communist. Everywhere I go, and you'll see this in the limited series, there's a communist flag almost over our heads. I mean, it is no doubt about what it is. It's communist. But what does that mean for today? Well, they are at peace. I don't know how much of their daily lives could take a real American friendship and relationship, but we felt well received, followed at times, but well received. So there are just a lot of things that I would want my father to see now. That he left a mark, all of our United States warriors did, Christianity being one of them. In a nation that's more than 95% Buddhist and Tao, it has in the world one of the largest statues of Jesus Christ on a mountaintop in Vung Tau, and that's amazing. But really what I know that they left behind was just who we are as a country. We will fight when we feel that our principles are worth saving someplace. Now, we've learned over and over that you can't change hearts and minds. It's taken a lot of time, and I think that lesson began in Vietnam. They tried mightily, and war is hell, and people make mistakes. I would say this. I now know what to say to a Vietnam veteran, and they often feel ignored. They certainly did when they came home to a violently divided nation. But I know to say, welcome home. Thank you for loving our nation and going so far in her name. It's worth thinking about and doing, especially now, because there are family members of Vietnam vets who are deceased that we will run into over the next few days with Memorial Day. Remember them too. Just because the war was not popular at home does not mean that our warriors did not go nobly. They were sent and they did their jobs. Do we have a clip? I'm not sure if my team sent you a clip.
I do not have the clip. I have it right here in front of me. Vietnam Footsteps of My Father with Harris Faulkner is the special on Fox Nation. But I do not have a clip, but I'm just looking through it here, Harris, and thinking to myself, there's a lot that applies to today, to the political climate, the cultural climate, the nation building that you talk about. I know it's cliche, but it does feel like history repeats itself, and people will learn that when they watch this series.
They will learn that. And, the wonderful thing right now is on Fox Nation, there has been such a mighty lift. In fact, People magazine even featured what I'm doing on this just yesterday, that I'm starting to hear back from people who've already seen it. And one of the people that connected with me was a man who, of course, I never would have known, whose father served in my dad's unit where my dad was a commander. By the way, I never knew that he was commanding so many during that war, during his 2 tours of duty. That was something else that I learned on the ground, that he was moving up the chain of command, made major while he was there. I had no idea. Anyway, this gentleman reached out to me, and I cried reading his email because I could envision my father through what he was telling me about what his dad knew of my dad and the brotherhood that existed among our warriors is so strong that it's bringing the children of those warriors together now. It is an amazing journey. And what I know people are getting from this, civilian, whether they served or they did not, there is a legacy moment for all of us as Americans, a connection to Vietnam, because it was the first war that we watched almost in real time on television.
Mm-hmm.
And there is that connection point of knowing what sacrifice looks like, what sacrifice really is. And when people watch this, it's a touchstone to something that brings us all together. We love this nation. I know that there are a lot of haters right now. Death to America, which is not protected speech. Protests turning into riots. But as my dad used to say, because he served smack in the middle of the civil rights unrest, he chose to fight for this country because he said, we are the best. Because of the U.S. Constitution, we have the most possibility. And I get into this in the limited series. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget who we are, especially as we go into a weekend where we remember all of those and all the wars who fought in our name. We thank them. We honor them. We always welcome them home. And we're grateful every day, not just Memorial and Veterans Day. So God bless them, and God bless America. And I can't wait for people to watch this. My dad's voice talking about one of his missions I had captured before he passed, and that happens to be in this. It's a limited series of 3 parts. They're about 20, 25 minutes, no commercials. That's what I love about streaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Fox Nation, and it changed my life. It was a divine assignment on my life. I think all of this just came together. Only the Lord could do that. And I hope that people will take the adventure of a lifetime with me for a few minutes.
Do not miss it. Vietnam, Footsteps of My Father with Harris Faulkner. You can catch it now on Fox Nation. Harris, thank you for using your platform to, of course, support us here in Kansas City, support our guy, Harrison Butker, and do everything you continue to do there on Fox every day. Thank you for the time, and as always, for being back in your adopted hometown of Kansas City.
Yes, well, I don't know I would say adopted. It's origin-based to me. Remember, when I was little, my dad was at the Command Staff College at Fort Leavenworth. I learned to ride my bike there.
That's right.
So
That's right.
Yeah, Kansas has always had a connection, but Kansas City was where we went for a shop.
Yes.
When I was a little kid, so yes. All right, Pete, have a great day, and thank you for letting me talk about Vietnam, Footsteps of My Father.
Anytime. Harris Faulkner on KCMO Talk Radio.